Welcome back to Red and Blue. I'm Caitlin Huey-Burns. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' book tour continues this week. He was in Jacksonville for another event today. And as we've mentioned before, only 3 declared candidates are so far in that race for 2024, with plenty of high-profile Republicans who are still mulling it over. As now, he has served in the administrations of 3 Republican presidents and is a Florida-based Republican consultant. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. I mean, Florida, Florida, Florida always, but even so, more so this cycle where you could have 2 Floridians running in this primary, perhaps. I want to play a little bit of sound from Fox News. They went to this diner in Florida earlier this week, and what they found was pretty interesting.
Rapid fire. Who's your man? Who's your woman?
My man, Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Christie, no. Christie, no.
Who's your man?
Donald Trump.
Governor DeSantis. What about President DeSantis?
I like it. I like it.
Who's your pick?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Trump or DeSantis? Either or.
All right, so Justin, I mean, Florida is DeSantis' territory. He just won it by 20 points in this past election, but there's still those who are very clearly loyal to the former president. So how do you imagine this playing out? Are Floridians, especially Republicans, going to stick by their governor? Are they still open to Trump or other candidates?
I think it depends on the campaign. I think Governor DeSantis has a legislative session coming up in Florida, and the conventional wisdom is that he's going to continue being governor, but this pre-campaign campaign, I call it, where he's going on a book tour, as we heard earlier on the show. He's going to be going to Davenport, Iowa next week and doing these trips across the country as a part of his book tour is like a pre-campaign campaign. In terms of Trump versus DeSantis, I think we won't really know the answer to that until Governor DeSantis enters the race and the campaign begins in earnest.
Yeah, I mean, Trump has already been going after DeSantis. He's given him a nickname, which shows that he's, in his sights. I think he's calling him DeSanctus recently. Do you expect DeSantis to fire back soon? I mean, you mentioned he's focused on the legislative session. Is that kind of the strategy?
I think it's a real dilemma for Governor DeSantis because it's, the rule number 1 in politics is you never let any attack go unanswered. And he's trying to stay above the fray. He's trying to be governor and not become part of the presidential campaign, which I think is the right thing for him to do. I think the danger, though, is receiving these attacks and not being able to respond in kind. But I think that he's doing the right thing by focusing on being governor, getting some legislative accomplishments that he can tout when he goes on the campaign trail whenever he does get into the race.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of when he does get in, I mean, we're not sure of a timeline, but you mentioned he is going to Iowa. I mean, in the past segment, we were talking about, this question of can what he does in Florida with these huge media markets and kind of bigger crowds really translate to the kind of campaigning that you need in Iowa? I mean, everything that you know about his style of politics, can you imagine him appealing in a place like Iowa or New Hampshire?
Absolutely, I can. I mean, look, Florida is a big, diverse mega state. We have a lot of different constituencies from the panhandle of the state of Florida, where you have a much more conservative southern type voter, all the way to Miami and the diversity of all the different communities that reside in Miami. And he's shown the ability to win and to win independent voters as well, and this, as we saw in this most recent election. So I also say, though, that the presidential campaign is a gauntlet like no other. So you really never know how anyone's going to do in a presidential campaign. But I will say, winning 2 elections in the state of Florida, I think, is a great way to develop the skills you need to win anywhere across the country.
Yeah, I mean, history has a lot of examples of candidates that look great on paper, but once they get in, it's a different story. I wanted to ask you really quickly, because yesterday I spoke with former Vice President Mike Pence about supporting Trump, and he wouldn't commit to supporting him if he's the nominee. I'm curious what your reaction to that is and kind of what you assess in terms of Trump's power over some of these potential candidates.
Sure. Look, I don't think if I were running for president, I wouldn't answer that question. It's a hypothetical. And if you're thinking about running, the only thing you're thinking about is how do I win? And the question, really, the premise of the question is, well, what happens if you lose? So if I were running for office, I would never answer that question for that reason. In terms of the campaign and the other Republican candidates, look, we have a former president who's run 2 times before, and he's running for his 3rd election. A lot of these candidates are going to be asked their positions relative to President Trump, and that's something they're going to have to figure out, how they define their own political character and not being defined by where they stand in relation to President Trump.
Well, we will be watching all of these candidates and hope that takes us to Florida often. Justin Sayfie, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Caitlin.